I worked in retail once, dressed as a fairy tale princess in a suburban mall's winter wonderland, never imagining that my greatest humiliation would become my salvation. The fluorescent lights hummed above me like mechanical wasps, their harsh brightness exposing every crack in the cheap plaster ceiling tiles. My name tag read, cast member, but everyone knew what we really were. Minimum wage workers desperately trying to make ends meet in costumes that smelled of other people's sweat and broken dreams. The blue dress hung on its metal hanger like a deflated balloon, its synthetic fabric catching the light in all the wrong ways. It was supposed to be ice blue, the color of magic and winter wonder, but under these lights, it looked more like the shade of hypothermia. Every morning, I would arrive at this temple of consumerism, walk past the food court with its competing aromas of grease and artificial vanilla, and transform myself into someone else entirely. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was playing a queen when I could barely afford to be a peasant in my real life. 6 months ago, I had an office with a view, a marketing director's salary, and a family waiting for me at home. Now I had a shared changing room that reeked of hairspray and desperation, counting every penny to make rent on a studio apartment where the radiator clanged like a ghost in chains. The world outside the mall existed in a perpetual state of artificial winter. Fake snow drifted lazily past the windows, accumulating on plastic evergreens that would never die because they had never lived. Children pressed their faces against the glass barriers surrounding our performance area, leaving smudges of hope and sticky fingerprints. Their parents stood behind them, phones raised, capturing moments that would be forgotten by next Christmas. I watched them through the one-way mirror in our break room, these families intact and whole, and felt something inside me crack a little more each day. The other cast members avoided talking about their real lives, but we all knew why we were here. Sarah, who played the Snow Princess, was putting herself through nursing school. Marcus, our Santa, had been laid off from the auto plant. We were all refugees from better times, wearing our shame like the costumes we donned each day. The mall's speaker system played the same 20 Christmas songs on repeat, each one becoming more distorted in my mind, until Silent Night sounded like a funeral dirge. I had memorized every scratch in the mirror where I applied my makeup, every water stain on the ceiling, every squeak in the floorboards. This was my kingdom now. A 10 by 12 room with peeling paint and a broken coffee maker that only worked if you hit it twice on the left side. The transformation process had become a ritual of erasure. First, I would pin back my mousy brown hair, securing it so tightly that my scalp ached. Then came the platinum blonde wig, heavy and suffocating, like wearing someone else's identity. The makeup followed. Foundation 3 shades lighter than my natural skin tone, silver eyeshadow that made me look ethereal or dead depending on the lighting, and lips painted in a shade of pink that existed nowhere in nature. Each stroke of the brush took me further from Clara and closer to Elsa, the Ice Queen, the woman who could freeze hearts with a glance and never feel the cold herself. But the cold I felt wasn't magical. It was the bone-deep chill of failure. Every morning, I would look at my reflection and see a stranger staring back, someone who had traded her dignity for $7.50 an hour, plus the occasional tip from guilty parents. The dress itself was a masterpiece of cost-cutting, polyester pretending to be silk, sequins that fell off if you moved too quickly, and a train that had been hemmed and re-hemmed so many times it looked like a geography map of disappointment. When I finally emerged from that room, fully transformed, even I almost believed in the illusion. Almost. Until I remembered that fairy tales were just stories we told ourselves to make the darkness bearable. Before taking the stage, I would stand in the wings and watch the crowd, studying the faces of children who still believed in magic. Their eyes would light up when they saw me, their small hands reaching out as if I might grant their wishes with a touch. If only they knew that the woman in the sparkling gown had her electricity shut off last week, that she ate ramen noodles for dinner more often than not, that she cried herself to sleep listening to voice messages from her daughter that she couldn't bear to delete. The stage was a raised platform covered in white felt that was supposed to look like snow, but felt more like standing on a giant piece of paper. Plastic icicles hung from wire frames above, occasionally dropping when the air conditioning kicked on. The throne where I sat for photos was spray-painted gold, its cushion worn thin from hundreds of previous queens. This was where I held court, where I smiled until my face ached, where I pretended that magic was real and dreams came true. Parents would hand me their children like offerings, and I would hold them gently, these small believers, and whisper things about winter magic and the power of love. Sometimes, in their faces, I would see my own daughter, and the pain would be so sharp I would have to look away, blinking rapidly to keep the tears from ruining my makeup. The memory of my daughter haunted every interaction. Lily would be 6 now, old enough to stop believing in Santa, but young enough to still want to. When children her age approached my throne, I could see her in their excitement, their bouncing impatience, their absolute faith that the world was full of wonders waiting to be discovered. She had that same light in her eyes the last Christmas we spent together, before the divorce, before the bankruptcy, before everything fell apart like a house of cards in a windstorm. I remembered her small hands decorating our tree, her voice high and sweet as she sang carols off-key, the weight of her sleeping against my chest on Christmas Eve. The court had given Leo primary custody. I was deemed financially unstable, a phrase that echoed in my mind like a curse. He had the house, the steady job, the new girlfriend who probably tucked Lily in at night and read her the stories I used to read. Meanwhile, I was here, a counterfeit queen in a shopping mall, living proof that not all fairy tales have happy endings. The worst part was knowing that if Lily saw me now, she might not even recognize me. Or worse, she would, and she would see what her mother had become. The job itself was a special kind of torture designed for those who had fallen from grace. Every "let it go" I had to sing, every time I had to proclaim that the cold never bothered me anyway, felt like swallowing glass. The cold bothered me constantly. The cold of the air conditioning that management kept Arctic to maintain the winter atmosphere. The cold stares of other shoppers who recognized desperation when they saw it. The cold reality that this was my life now. Between photo sessions, I would stand perfectly still, a living statue, while children circled me like I was some exotic animal in a zoo. They would whisper to each other, debating whether I was real or just another animatronic display. Sometimes I wondered the same thing myself. The mall management had rules about staying in character. No breaks except scheduled ones. No sitting unless on the throne. No eating or drinking where customers could see. We were to be magical creatures who existed solely for their entertainment, who had no needs or wants beyond spreading Christmas cheer. The irony was suffocating. Here I was, spreading joy I didn't feel, selling magic I didn't believe in, promising happy endings I knew were lies. Each shift felt like a small death, a gradual erosion of everything I used to be. I had been somebody once, Clara Mitchell, marketing director, the woman who could sell ice to Eskimos and make them thank her for it. I had pitched to CEOs, managed million-dollar campaigns, wore suits that cost more than I now made in a month. That woman was gone, buried under layers of polyester and shame. In her place stood this hollow queen, this minimum wage monarch ruling over a kingdom of plastic and pretense. The other mall workers looked at us with a mixture of pity and relief. Pity that we had to do this, relief that they didn't. Even the custodians, pushing their carts of cleaning supplies, seemed to have more dignity than those of us in costume. At least they didn't have to pretend to be something they weren't. At least they could go home and look their families in the eye without feeling like frauds. The Christmas season, which used to be my favorite time of year, had become a marathon of endurance. Each day was another battle against despair, another performance for an audience that would forget me the moment they walked away. Then came that night, the one that would change everything, though I didn't know it yet. The mall was busier than usual, packed with last-minute shoppers and families seeking refuge from the cold. Real cold, not the manufactured kind we peddled inside. I was halfway through my shift, my smile beginning to crack at the edges, when I saw them. At first, I thought I was hallucinating, that the constant repetition of Christmas music had finally driven me mad. But no, there they were, standing in line behind a family of 4. Leo looked older, tired in a way that seemed bone deep. His hair had more gray than I remembered, and he wore the same winter coat he'd had since college. The one with the broken zipper he always meant to fix, but never did. And beside him, holding his hand with the casual trust that only children can manage, was Lily. My Lily. She had grown so much in the month since I'd seen her. Her hair was longer, braided in a style I didn't recognize, probably the girlfriend's doing. She wore a red coat that was new, expensive looking, the kind I could never afford now. But her face, that beautiful face that I had kissed 1,000 times, was exactly as I remembered. She was staring at me with the kind of wonder reserved for Christmas miracles, completely unaware that the ice queen on the platform was the mother who had failed her. The line moved slowly, each family taking their time, parents negotiating with reluctant children, phones coming out for multiple shots. I continued my performance, but my eyes kept drifting to them, to the way Leo bent down to whisper something in Lily's ear, to the way she giggled and covered her mouth with her mittened hand. They were maybe 10 families back, close enough that I could see the expression on Leo's face. He hadn't recognized me yet. The wig, the makeup, the costume were doing their job. But what would happen when they reached the front? Would he laugh? Would he take Lily and leave? Would he use this as evidence that I was even more unfit than before? My hands began to shake, and I clasped them together, hoping it looked like a regal pose rather than barely controlled panic. A little boy was on my lap now, telling me about his wish for a dinosaur that could fly. I nodded and smiled, but my mind was racing. I could take my break early, claim I was sick, disappear before they reached me. But that would mean losing this job, and I couldn't afford that. Besides, some part of me, some masochistic part, wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to see my daughter up close, even if it meant facing my ex-husband's judgment. As they moved closer, I could hear Lily's voice, high and excited, telling Leo about her friends at school, about a Christmas play where she was going to be an angel. An angel. My baby was going to be an angel, and I wouldn't be there to see it. The pain was physical, a tightness in my chest that made it hard to breathe. The family in front of them was finishing up, the mother counting out exact change for their photo package. Then it was their turn. Leo stepped forward first, his eyes meeting mine, and I saw the exact moment recognition dawned. His face went through a series of expressions: shock, confusion, something that might have been pity. But before he could say anything, Lily tugged on his hand. "Daddy, is that really her? Is that really Queen Elsa?" Her voice was breathless with excitement, and in that moment, I realized she didn't recognize me at all. My own daughter was looking at me like I was a stranger, a magical stranger, but a stranger nonetheless. The knife twisted deeper. Leo's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw him taking in the cheap costume, the false eyelashes, the painted smile. This was it, the moment of my complete humiliation. But then Leo did something unexpected. He knelt down beside Lily and said, "Yes, sweetheart, that's Queen Elsa. Would you like to meet her?" His voice was gentle, careful, the same tone he used to use when Lily was scared of thunderstorms. He was giving me a gift, I realized. The gift of anonymity, of dignity, of being able to meet my daughter without the weight of our history. Lily approached slowly, shyly, so different from the bold child who used to run into my arms without hesitation. "Hello, Your Majesty," she said, her voice small and reverent. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay in character. "Hello, little princess," I replied, my voice pitched higher, accented with the vague European lilt the character required. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said, then added quickly, "like the flower." Like the flower. I had named her that because lilies were my grandmother's favorite, because they symbolized rebirth and hope. Now here she was, not recognizing the woman who had given her that name. "That's a beautiful name for a beautiful princess," I managed to say, the words thick in my throat. Leo stood behind her, his hands on her shoulders, and our eyes met over her head. In his gaze, I saw something I hadn't expected, not judgment or cruelty, but a deep sadness that matched my own. He had won everything in the divorce, but looking at him now, I wondered if anyone had really won anything at all. "Would you like a picture?" I asked, the question directed at both of them. Leo nodded, pulling out his phone. As he did, Lily stepped closer, and I could smell her. That particular combination of children's shampoo and laundry detergent, with something underneath that was uniquely her. It was the same smell I used to breathe in when I checked on her at night, pulling her covers up, kissing her forehead. Now I was a stranger she would forget by next week. Leo raised his phone, and I put my arm around Lily, careful not to hold her too tight, not to let my mask slip. She leaned into me trustingly, and for a moment, just a moment, it felt like before. Like we were still a family, just playing dress-up, just pretending. The camera flash went off, capturing this moment of beautiful deception. "Can I tell you a secret?" Lily whispered to me, her voice so quiet only I could hear. My heart stopped. Had she recognized me after all? "Of course, little one," I replied, leaning down. "I asked Santa for my mommy to come home for Christmas," she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. "Do you think he'll bring her?" The world tilted. The sounds of the mall faded to a distant hum. I looked at Leo, who had clearly heard, his face stricken. This child, my child, was sitting on a stranger's lap, confessing her deepest wish, not knowing that the person she was wishing for was right there, holding her. "I think," I said carefully, my voice threatening to break, "that sometimes wishes come true in ways we don't expect. Your mommy loves you very much, wherever she is." Lily nodded solemnly, accepting this wisdom from the Ice Queen. Then she did something that nearly shattered my composure completely. She hugged me. Not the polite, careful hug of a child meeting a character, but a real hug, the kind she used to give me when I picked her up from preschool. For a second, I let myself pretend. I let myself be her mother again, just for that second. When they left, I watched them walk away, Lily skipping beside Leo, chattering excitedly about meeting Queen Elsa. My break was in 5 minutes, but I didn't think I could make it. The next family was approaching, but I held up a hand, gesturing to my handler that I needed a moment. I stood from the throne and walked with as much dignity as I could manage to the backstage area. Once behind the curtain, I collapsed against the wall, the sobs coming hard and fast. The makeup I had so carefully applied was running in rivers down my face, black mascara mixing with silver eyeshadow to create a muddy mess. This was rock bottom, I thought. This was the absolute lowest point a person could reach, being unable to comfort your own child, being reduced to a minimum wage cartoon character in her eyes. But even as I thought it, I heard footsteps. Someone had followed me backstage. I looked up, expecting to see my supervisor ready to fire me for breaking character. Instead, it was Leo. He stood there, hands in his pockets, looking as lost as I felt. "Clara," he said, and it was the first time I'd heard him say my name in almost a year. "Don't," I said, my voice raw. "Please don't. I know what you're thinking. I know how pathetic this is. Clara Mitchell, the woman who was going to conquer the corporate world, dressed up like a discount Disney princess. Go ahead, take another picture. Show it to your lawyer. I'm sure it will help with any future custody arrangements." The words came out bitter, defensive, but Leo didn't rise to the bait. Instead, he did something that surprised me. He sat down on the floor beside me, his back against the same wall. "She misses you," he said simply. "Every day, she asks about you. She has your picture under her pillow. She talks to it sometimes when she thinks I'm not listening." The words hit me like physical blows. "Then why?" I asked. Why keep her from me? I know I lost the house, the job, but I never stopped being her mother. Leo was quiet for a long moment. I was angry, he finally said. When everything fell apart, when you lost your job and couldn't find another one, when the bills started piling up, I was so angry. I felt like you had failed us, failed me. So when the lawyer said I could get full custody, he trailed off, the sentence hanging between us like a confession. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought you'd bounce back, get another marketing job, fight for joint custody. I never imagined. He gestured vaguely at my costume, at the dingy backstage area, at the whole situation. That I'd end up here? I finished for him. That the economy would tank further? That nobody wants to hire a 40-year-old marketing director who got laid off from her last position? That I'd be lucky to get a job asking if people want fries with that? The anger felt good, cleaner than the despair. Do you know what it's like, Leo? To go from having everything to having nothing? To have your own daughter look right through you like you're a stranger? No, he admitted, I don't. But I know what it's like to watch her cry herself to sleep on your birthday because she couldn't call you. I know what it's like to try to explain why mommy can't come to her school play. I know what it's like to realize that in trying to punish you, I was punishing her too. We sat in silence. Two people who had once promised to love each other forever, now strangers united only by the child we had created together. She needs you, Leo said finally. Not the successful marketing director, not the perfect mother you always tried to be. Just you. Even if you're working here, even if you're living in a studio apartment, even if you're buying generic cereal, she needs her mother. The court doesn't see it that way, I reminded him. The court said I was financially unstable, remember? And look at me now, I'm worse off than I was then. The court doesn't have to know everything, Leo said quietly. I could bring her to the mall sometimes. You could see her, not as Elsa, but as you. We could meet at the food court or the playground. It wouldn't be official, but... You'd do that? I asked, hardly daring to hope. You'd risk your custody arrangement? Leo looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a moment, I saw the man I had fallen in love with all those years ago. I've made a lot of mistakes, Clara. I let my pride and my anger make decisions that should have been made with love. But I see what it's doing to Lily, not having you in her life, and I see what it's doing to you. Nobody wins this way. The hope that bloomed in my chest was so intense, it was almost painful. To see Lily again, to be her mother again, even in secret, even in small doses, it was more than I had dared to dream. What about your girlfriend? I asked. Won't she object? Leo actually laughed, a short, bitter sound. We broke up 2 months ago. Turns out she wasn't really interested in being a stepmother. Lily was too much work, too much baggage. He paused. I'm sorry. I know that's what you probably wanted to hear, but it doesn't feel like a victory, does it? He was right. It didn't. There were no winners in this game we had been playing, only casualties. I should get back, I said, suddenly aware that my break was long over. My supervisor will be looking for me. Clara, Leo said as I stood, I'm sorry. For everything. For the divorce, for the custody battle, for not seeing sooner what it was doing to all of us. I'm sorry. The apology hung in the air between us, years too late, but somehow still necessary. I'm sorry too, I said, for the financial mess, for the lies I told trying to keep it together, for not being the wife and mother you both needed. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. I returned to my throne after fixing my makeup as best I could, and continued the performance. But something had shifted. The smile felt less forced, the children's laughter less mocking. When my shift ended, I found Leo and Lily waiting by the mall entrance. We thought you might like to join us for hot chocolate, Leo said, and Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Can Queen Elsa come too?" she asked. Leo knelt down beside her. "Actually, sweetheart, I want you to meet someone very special." He looked at me, and I understood. This was it, the moment of truth. I had already changed out of the costume, my regular clothes making me look even shabbier by comparison. My hair was flat from the wig, my face pale without the theatrical makeup. I was just Clara now, failed marketing director, divorced mother, mall employee. "Lily," Leo said gently, "this is your mom." The words hung in the air like a spell. Lily looked at me, confusion clear on her face. She studied me with those intense eyes, so like her father's, searching for something familiar. Then, like the sun breaking through clouds, recognition dawned. "Mommy?" she whispered, and then louder, "Mommy!" She flew into my arms with the force of a small hurricane, and I caught her, held her, breathed her in. "But you were Elsa," she said, pulling back to look at me, her small hands on my cheeks. "You were the queen." "Sometimes," I told her. "Mommies have to wear costumes. But underneath, I'm still just your mom." "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, and in her voice I heard not accusation, but wonder. "I wanted to," I said, "but sometimes grown-ups make things complicated when they should be simple." She seemed to accept this with the easy wisdom of childhood. "Are you coming home?" she asked, and I felt Leo stiffen beside me. This was the question we hadn't answered, couldn't answer. "Not tonight, sweetheart," I said carefully, "but I'm going to see you more often, if that's okay with you." "Every day?" she negotiated, and I laughed despite the tears running down my face. "Maybe not every day," Leo interjected gently, "but a lot more than before. We're going to work it out." Lily looked between us, seeming to sense the fragility of this moment. Then she took my hand in her right and Leo's in her left. "Okay," she said simply. "But can we get hot chocolate now? And can you tell me about being Elsa? Do you know Anna? Is Olaf real?" We walked to the food court together, Lily between us, chattering about everything and nothing. She told me about school, about her friends, about the tooth she had lost last week. I told her about working at the mall, making it sound like an adventure rather than a desperate last resort. Leo occasionally added comments, and for a moment, we almost felt like a family again. Not the family we had been, but maybe something new, something that could work despite the broken pieces. As we sat at a sticky food court table, sharing a single hot chocolate because I couldn't afford 3, I watched my daughter's face animated with joy and realized something profound. Rock bottom wasn't where I had thought it was. Rock bottom was losing hope entirely, and I hadn't done that. Even dressed as a discount fairy tale princess, even living paycheck to paycheck, even having lost almost everything, I had kept hoping. And now, that hope was being rewarded in the most unexpected way. The mall's speakers were playing "I'll Be Home for Christmas," and for the first time in months, it didn't sound like a lie. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of renegotiation. Leo and I met with a mediator, not a lawyer, we couldn't afford that, but a counselor who helped divorced parents navigate co-parenting. We worked out an unofficial arrangement. I would see Lily 3 times a week, more during school breaks. It wasn't legal. Technically, Leo still had full custody, but it was something. It was hope. I kept working at the mall through the rest of the Christmas season, but it felt different now. When children sat on my lap and told me their wishes, I listened with real attention, knowing that sometimes the most impossible wishes could come true in unexpected ways. When parents looked at me with that mixture of pity and superiority, I held my head high, knowing that I was more than what they saw. I was a mother fighting her way back to her child, and there was dignity in that fight. Lily came to visit me at work several times, delighting in the secret that Queen Elsa was really her mom. She would wave at me from the crowd, our secret signal, and I would wave back, a real smile on my painted face. On Christmas Eve, Leo brought Lily to my tiny apartment. It was the first time she had seen where I lived, and I watched nervously as she took in the sparse furnishings, the lack of decorations, the obvious poverty of it all. But children see with different eyes than adults. "It's cozy," she declared, and immediately set about making herself at home. We decorated a tiny plastic tree I had bought from the dollar store, using paper ornaments Lily made, while Leo and I cooked dinner together in my cramped kitchen. It was awkward at times, the ghost of our marriage haunting every interaction, but it was also strangely healing. We were learning to be something new, not husband and wife, but co-parents, maybe even friends. As we sat on my threadbare couch, Lily between us, watching a Christmas movie on my ancient television, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but peace. The war was over, even if the rebuilding had just begun. That night, after Leo had taken Lily home, she wasn't ready for overnight visits yet. We were taking things slow. I sat alone in my apartment and thought about the journey that had brought me here. 6 months ago, I would have considered this life a failure. The tiny apartment, the minimum wage job, the shared custody that wasn't even legally binding. But now I saw it differently. I had been stripped of everything external: the career, the house, the marriage, the identity I had built over 40 years. But in losing everything, I had found something essential. I had found that I could survive anything. I had found that love persists even when everything else falls apart. I had found that dignity isn't about what you do for a living, but how you face whatever life throws at you. The mall job wouldn't last forever. After Christmas, they would cut most of the seasonal workers. But I would find something else. Maybe not marketing director, maybe not anything close to what I had before, but something. And whatever it was, I would do it with the knowledge that I had survived the worst and come out the other side. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Leo. "I just wanted to say thank you," he said, "for today, for being so good with her, for not making this harder than it has to be." "Thank you for bringing her," I replied, "for giving me this chance." There was a pause. Then Leo said, "She's writing a letter to Santa right now. Want to know what she's asking for?" "What?" I asked, though I thought I knew. "She says she already got what she wanted, her mom back for Christmas. Now she's asking if Santa can make sure you stay." The tears came then, but they were different from all the tears I had shed over the past year. These were tears of gratitude, of relief, of something that might have been joy. "I'm not going anywhere," I said, and meant it. Even if I had to work 10 mall jobs, even if I had to live in this tiny apartment forever, even if I never got back to anything resembling my old life, I wasn't going anywhere. I was Lily's mother, and that was worth more than any career, any house, any external marker of success. After we hung up, I went to my window and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, my daughter was going to sleep, hopefully dreaming of good things. Tomorrow was Christmas, and while it wouldn't be the Christmas any of us had planned, it would be Christmas together, in whatever broken, beautiful way we could manage. I thought about the mall, about the fake snow and the plastic icicles, about the children who believed in magic and the parents who had forgotten how. I thought about how I had sold my dignity for $7.50 an hour, dressed up as a princess in a shopping center, and how that humiliation had led to this redemption. Life was strange that way. Sometimes you had to lose everything to find out what really mattered. Sometimes you had to hit bottom to learn you could bounce. Sometimes you had to become someone else entirely to find your way back to yourself. The city lights twinkled like earthbound stars, each one representing a life, a story, a struggle. I was just one light among millions, but I was shining. Maybe not brightly, maybe flickering sometimes, but shining nonetheless. Christmas morning came with a phone call at 6 a.m. Lily's voice, bright and excited. "Mommy, Santa came. He really came. And he left a present for you here too. Daddy says you can come open it with us." I threw on clothes and drove through the empty streets, my old car protesting the cold. The house I had once shared with Leo looked exactly the same from the outside, but felt completely different as I walked up the familiar path. This wasn't coming home. This was visiting. But that was okay. Some things couldn't be put back together, and maybe they weren't meant to be. Leo answered the door in his pajamas, looking sheepish. "She insisted," he said. "I hope it's okay." "It's more than okay," I told him, and meant it. Lily was waiting by the tree, a real tree, tall and full, nothing like my plastic dollar store version. She pulled me down beside her, showing me all the presents Santa had brought, narrating each one with breathless excitement. Then she handed me a small, wrapped box. "This one's for you," she said, "from me and Daddy." Inside was a simple silver necklace with a small lily pendant. Nothing expensive, nothing elaborate, but perfect. "So you can always have me with you," Lily explained, and I had to turn away to wipe my eyes. We spent the morning together, the three of us, playing with Lily's new toys, eating too many cookies, existing in a bubble of temporary perfection. It couldn't last. Leo and I had too much history, too much hurt, to ever go back to what we were. But we could be this: co-parents, partners in raising this amazing little girl who had somehow survived our failures better than we had. When it was time for me to go, Leo's parents were coming for dinner, and we weren't ready for that level of complexity. Lily hugged me tight. "Will you come back tomorrow?" she asked. "And the day after that?" "Not every day," I said gently, "but lots of days. As many as I can." She nodded, accepting this compromise with grace. "And will you still be Elsa sometimes?" she asked. "Even after Christmas?" "The mall job ends after New Year's," I told her. "But you know what? I'll always be able to do Elsa for you, anytime you want." "Good," she said decisively, "because my friends at school don't believe she's my mom." Leo and I exchanged a look over her head, amused and touched by her pride in something that had been my greatest shame. As I drove away, I thought about the journey from that first horrible night in the mall break room to this moment. I had sold my name, my identity, my pride for a blue polyester dress and minimum wage. I had stood on a platform and pretended to be royalty while feeling like nothing. I had watched my ex-husband and daughter approach, expecting humiliation, expecting judgment, expecting the final blow to my already shattered self-worth. Instead, I had found grace. Not the dramatic, life-changing kind you see in movies, but the quiet, everyday kind that comes from people choosing to be better than their worst impulses. Leo could have used my situation against me, could have taken Lily away forever. Instead, he had chosen compassion. Lily could have been embarrassed by her mother, the mall princess. Instead, she had been proud. And I could have let shame and pride keep me from accepting their offered connection. Instead, I had chosen love over dignity, connection over isolation. The blue dress that had seemed like a symbol of my failure had become the catalyst for redemption. Sometimes life works that way. The thing you think will destroy you becomes the thing that saves you. The mall called a few days later. Would I be interested in staying on after the holidays? Not as Elsa, that was seasonal, but in customer service, gift wrapping, wherever they needed extra hands. The pay was the same, minimum wage, but it was steady work. A year ago, I would have been insulted by the offer. Now, I said yes gratefully. It wasn't a career, but it was a job, and right now, that was enough. I started looking for second jobs, evening work that wouldn't interfere with my time with Lily. I found one at a call center, mind-numbing work, but decent pay. Between the two jobs, I could afford a better apartment, maybe in Lily's school district. The dream wasn't dead, just reimagined. I might never be marketing director Clara Mitchell again, but I could be Clara Mitchell, survivor. Clara Mitchell, mother. Clara Mitchell, woman who had lost everything and found her way back to what mattered. Leo and I continued our delicate dance of co-parenting. We met for coffee once a week to discuss Lily, keeping things civil, even friendly. Sometimes, in his laugh or the way he ran his hand through his hair when frustrated, I caught glimpses of the man I had married. But those glimpses were just echoes now, reminders of a different life. We were different people now, shaped by failure and loss and the slow work of rebuilding. He started dating again, tentatively, and I gave him my blessing. I wanted him to be happy, to find someone who could be the partner I couldn't be anymore. And maybe someday I would date again too, but not now. Now was for healing, for rebuilding, for rediscovering who Clara Mitchell was when everything external was stripped away. Now was for Lily, for making up lost time, for proving that love could survive even the complete destruction of the life that had contained it. Spring came, and with it, small victories. A raise at the call center. Lily's first sleepover at my new apartment. Still small, but cleaner, safer, with a real bedroom for her. Leo helping me move, the two of us working together without the weight of expectation. My supervisor at the mall, impressed by my work ethic, recommending me for a management training program. Small steps, but forward motion. The woman who had dressed as Elsa in a suburban mall was still there, would always be part of my story now. But she wasn't the end of the story. She was the chapter where everything changed, where the heroine discovered that rock bottom was actually solid ground to build on. The mall job had been meant as a humiliation, a final proof of how far I had fallen. Instead, it had been a gift. It had brought Lily back to me. It had taught me that dignity wasn't about what you did, but how you did it. It had shown me that sometimes the costume we wear reveals more truth than the face beneath it. One evening, as I was tucking Lily into bed at my apartment, she asked, "Mommy, why did you and Daddy stop loving each other?" It was the question I had been dreading, the one that had no easy answer. I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. "We didn't stop loving each other," I said finally. "We just forgot how to be kind to each other. We got so worried about bills and jobs and being perfect that we forgot what really mattered. But we never stopped loving you. Not for 1 second." She considered this, then asked, "Is that why you had to be Elsa? Because you forgot what mattered?" Out of the mouths of babes. "Maybe," I admitted. "But being Elsa helped me remember. Because you know what the most magical thing about that job was?" She shook her head. "It brought you back to me," I said, and she smiled, satisfied with this answer. "So it was worth it?" she asked. "Every second," I told her, and meant it. Every humiliating second in that blue polyester dress had been worth this moment, this child, this second chance. Later, after she was asleep, I stood in my tiny living room and looked at the photo Leo had taken that night at the mall. Lily on Queen Elsa's lap, both of them smiling, unaware that they were mother and daughter playing out a scene neither had scripted. I had framed it and placed it on the mantel next to a photo from before. Our family at the beach, tanned and laughing, blissfully unaware of what was coming. They were bookends to a story, the before and after of a life that had shattered and been pieced back together in a completely different pattern. The woman in the beach photo wouldn't recognize the woman in the Elsa costume. But maybe that was okay. Maybe that was the point. Sometimes we have to become unrecognizable to ourselves before we can see who we really are. Sometimes we have to lose everything we thought defined us to discover what actually does. I had sold my name for a blue dress and $7.50 an hour. I had expected humiliation, had expected rock bottom, had expected the end. Instead, I had found my daughter, had found grace, had found that the human heart can survive almost anything if it has something to love. The Christmas season came around again, and the mall called. Would I consider returning as Elsa? They were offering more money this time. I had been promoted to assistant manager in the interim, and they wanted someone they could trust with their flagship holiday character. I thought about it for a long time. The woman I had been last Christmas would have said no, would have seen it as a step backward. But I wasn't that woman anymore. I said yes, not because I needed the money as desperately, though extra income was always welcome. I said yes because I had learned something important. There was no shame in honest work, no matter what costume it required. I said yes because Lily loved telling her friends that her mom was Queen Elsa. I said yes because sometimes the thing that breaks you open is the thing that lets the light in. When I put on the blue dress this time, it felt different. It wasn't a symbol of failure, but of survival. The children who sat on my lap and whispered their wishes didn't know my story, but I knew theirs, or at least I could imagine them. Some of them were probably from broken homes, from families struggling to make ends meet, from situations where magic seemed impossible. I could be magic for them, if only for a moment. I could be proof that even when everything seems frozen, spring always comes eventually. Leo brought Lily to see me perform, and this time, there was no shock, no hidden identity. She waved from the crowd, my biggest fan, my reminder of why any of this mattered. After my shift, we all went for hot chocolate, a tradition now, our strange little reformed family unit. You know, Leo said, watching Lily play on the mall's indoor playground, I never thanked you properly, for not making this ugly, for not using the courts to fight back when you could have, for being graceful when I wasn't. We both did what we thought was best at the time, I said. We were both wrong and right in different ways. Still, he insisted, you could have made this so much harder, for all of us, but especially for her. He nodded toward Lily. Instead, you put on a costume and smiled while your world was falling apart. That takes a kind of courage I didn't know existed. It wasn't courage, I wanted to tell him. It was desperation. But maybe they were the same thing sometimes. Maybe courage was just desperation that worked out. The holiday season passed in a blur of photos and wishes and fake snow. But this year, I noticed different things. The father who whispered, "Thank you," with tears in his eyes after his daughter, clearly going through chemotherapy, smiled for the first time in weeks on my lap. The single mother who counted out exact change for a photo, and the way her face lit up when I quietly comped it for her. The elderly woman who brought her grandson and told me that she had worked as a character actor at the mall 40 years ago when it first opened. "It's honest work," she said, patting my gloved hand. "Don't let anyone tell you different. You're making memories." She was right. I was making memories, not just for the children, but for myself. Each shift was a reminder of how far I had come, how much I had survived, how much I still had to be grateful for. The mall, with all its artificial glitter and commercial chaos, had become a place of pilgrimage for me, a reminder that redemption can happen anywhere, even in the most unlikely places. As winter turned to spring once more, I got an unexpected call. A marketing firm downtown, someone who had heard about my story through a complicated network of connections, wanted to interview me. Not for a director position, but for something entry-level with room to grow. The interviewer, a woman about my age, looked at my resume with its glaring 2-year gap. "Tell me about this period," she said. "What were you doing?" I could have lied, could have made up something about consulting or freelancing. Instead, I told the truth. I was working as a character actor at a mall. I was Elsa, the Ice Queen. I was also working at a call center, and before that, a few other minimum wage jobs. I was surviving. I was rebuilding. I was learning that there's dignity in any honest work. She looked at me for a long moment. "That's quite a journey," she said finally. "From marketing director to mall princess and back again." "Not back," I corrected. "Forward. I'm not trying to go back to who I was. I'm trying to become who I'm supposed to be next." I got the job. It wasn't much. Data entry, basic campaign support, making coffee for meetings. But it was a foot in the door, a chance to rebuild professionally while maintaining the life I had constructed so carefully. I kept the mall job too, just weekends now. Partly for the money, partly because I wasn't ready to let go of the place where my life had changed. The blue dress hung in my closet at home now, cleaned and pressed, a reminder. Lily sometimes asked me to put it on for her friends, And I would, transforming into Elsa in our living room, singing off-key renditions of Let It Go while she and her friends giggled and danced. These impromptu performances, with no paycheck attached, no supervisor watching, no fake snow falling, were the purest expression of what I had learned. Sometimes we wear costumes to hide who we are. Sometimes we wear them to discover who we are. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we wear them to become who we were always meant to be. The woman in the blue dress wasn't separate from marketing director Clara, or Mother Clara, or Survivor Clara. She was all of them, integrated finally into one person who could both fall and rise, fail and succeed, lose everything, and somehow, impossibly, gain even more. 5 years have passed now since that night when Leo and Lily walked into the mall and found me dressed as Elsa. 5 years of slow rebuilding, careful steps, small victories, and occasional setbacks. I'm back in marketing now, not as a director, but as a manager, working for a company that values resilience as much as traditional success. Leo remarried last year, a kind woman named Patricia who treats Lily well and has never tried to replace me. We all attended the wedding, Lily as a flower girl, me as a guest who was also family, even if we didn't have a word for what kind of family we were. I'm dating someone now too, a man who met me when I was still working at the mall, who saw past the costume to the woman underneath, who understands that some people's stories aren't straight lines, but meandering paths that sometimes circle back on themselves. Lily is 11 now, too old for Elsa, too sophisticated for mall Santas and fairy tale princesses. But she still keeps that photo from that night, framed on her dresser, and sometimes I catch her looking at it with an expression I can't quite read. "Mom," she said to me recently, "do you ever miss it? Being Elsa?" I thought about it. I miss the simplicity of it sometimes, I admitted, knowing exactly what my role was, what was expected of me. Real life is more complicated. "But better?" she asked. "Different," I said. "And yes, better, because it's real." She nodded, satisfied. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "I want to work at the mall when I'm older, as a character. Maybe Belle or Cinderella." My first instinct was to say no, to tell her she was worth more than that she should aim higher. But I caught myself. Who was I to say what was worthy work? Who was I to determine the value of bringing joy to children, of being magic in a mundane world? "If that's what you want," I said carefully, "then you'll be the best Belle or Cinderella that Mall has ever seen." She grinned. "You could teach me. You were the best Elsa they ever had. Everyone said so." It wasn't true, but truth wasn't the point. The point was that she was proud of me, not despite the mall job, but because of it. The point was that she saw dignity where others might see humiliation. The point was that she understood, in the way children sometimes do, that life is not about avoiding failure, but about how we rise from it. I still have the blue dress. It hangs in the back of my closet, wrapped in plastic, preserved like a wedding dress or a christening gown. Sometimes I take it out, hold it up to the light, remember the weight of it, the way it rustled when I walked, the way it transformed me into someone else who was somehow more myself than I had ever been. It's become a talisman of sorts, a reminder that the worst thing that happens to you might also be the best thing, that humiliation and redemption can be the same experience viewed from different angles. When friends who knew me before ask about that time, I tell them the truth. I sold my dignity for minimum wage and found something worth more than any salary. I dressed as a princess and discovered I was a queen, not of ice, but of resilience. I lost my family and found them again, changed but unbroken. The blue dress was my cocoon, and I emerged from it different than I went in. The mall is closing next year. Online shopping and changing habits have finally caught up with it. They're going to tear it down, build condos or offices or something else modern and profitable. Part of me is sad to see it go, this place where my life pivoted so dramatically. But part of me understands that nothing lasts forever, that even our most important stages eventually close, Before it shuts down, they're having one last Christmas season, pulling out all the stops. They called to ask if I would come back one last time as Elsa. Not for the money, they know I don't need it now. But for the nostalgia, for the children who have grown up with their Elsa, for the end of an era. I said yes immediately, not because I need to revisit the past, but because I want to honor it. That mall, that job, that blue dress, they saved me when I thought I was beyond saving. The least I can do is be there for its farewell. When I told Lily, she asked if she could be my assistant, help with the children, maybe play Anna if they needed someone. It would be like coming full circle, she said, and I was struck again by her wisdom. Full circle. From the night she didn't recognize me to now, when she wants to join me, from humiliation to celebration, from endings to beginnings. We'll do it together, I promised, and her face lit up like Christmas morning. Leo, when he heard, laughed. Of course you're doing it, he said. It wouldn't be right for that place to close without you there. He paused, then added, I'm proud of you, Clara. For all of it, for surviving, for rebuilding, for turning what could have been your worst story into your best one. It's not my best story, I wanted to correct him. It's just my story, complicated and messy and real. But I understood what he meant. We all have moments that define us, that break us open and show us what we're made of. Mine just happened to involve a blue polyester dress and a mall full of artificial snow. As I write this, Christmas is approaching again. The decorations are going up, the music is starting to play in stores, and children are beginning to make their lists. Somewhere, there's a woman putting on a costume for the first time, feeling like she's hit rock bottom, not knowing that she's about to discover strengths she never knew she had. Somewhere, there's a child who will sit on a mall character's lap and whisper a wish that seems impossible, but isn't. Somewhere, there's a family falling apart and coming back together in ways they never expected. The magic of Christmas isn't in the presents or the lights or the perfect families gathered around perfect trees. It's in the moments of grace when we choose love over pride, connection over isolation, hope over despair. It's in the minimum wage workers who become royalty for children who need to believe in something. It's in the broken people who find wholeness in the most unexpected places. It's in the blue dress that was supposed to be a costume but became a uniform of courage. When I put on that dress for the last time this December, when I stand on that platform in the mall that's about to become memory, I won't be the desperate woman who first wore it 6 years ago. I'll be someone who has traveled through darkness and found light, who has lost everything and discovered what really matters, who has worn a crown of plastic and discovered she was always a queen. The children won't know my story. They'll just see Elsa, magical and serene, granting wishes and spreading joy. But I'll know, Lily will know. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the real magic, not the story we tell the world, but the story we know to be true. The story of how a blue dress bought dignity back. The story of how a mall became a cathedral. The story of how sometimes, when we sell our names for costumes, we find out who we really are. I was Clara Mitchell, marketing director. Then I was nothing. Then I was Elsa, minimum wage mall princess. Now I'm Clara Mitchell again, but different, fuller, realer, a woman who has worn many costumes and finally learned that underneath them all, she was always enough, always worthy, always, despite everything, magical in her own ordinary, extraordinary way.